soul of a painter. The insights and intuitive faculties of the artist are reflected in the profundity and richness of his work. The sources or motivation in my work has been an inner or outer response to nature and the world around me. As a painter, I am interested in the language of paint, and my ideas must be expressed in terms of a space concept on the picture plane of the canvas. I would like my painting to have an organic oneness, which would be the result of a constantly growing understanding and feeling for the lyricism of paint. I think people, most people forget how to see. They look without seeing in most cases. They walk down the street. A lot of their seeing is through their mind's eye rather than through their eyes. And when they go to a museum, I'm not talking about all people, a good proportion of people go to a museum, look for things that they can associate to. Instead of looking at a work of art and seeing what it can give them, something fresh, look at it with an open eye. They look at things that they have experienced and can relate to. That's why in most cases they look for figurative work only, or things that, anything that's distorted upsets people, used to at least in the past. The whole source of my paintings was nature, and the abstract direction used nature as its motif from which I dissected and analyzed the shapes and form to create a final result, which was basically a figurative image in a somewhat semi-abstract form. But nature has always been my source. I try to keep my paintings down to a few simple color relationships that give a tension within the painting that causes things to move back and forth and up and down, and in large open areas for the most part. I want a stark statement, but a statement that is full of human feeling. By wanting a stark statement, I mean the lowest common denominator of the total image, the total structure, be a oneness of the form and the content. It's important for the artist in any field of art to be unself-conscious, in a sense, because if he's a writer, I presume he's writing about himself anyhow, without being aware of it. But I don't feel a painter should be painting because he thinks what he's going to do is going to shock the world. He's painting to carry out an idea, to express something, and I don't think we should think in terms of this is going to knock them over, or this is not going to knock them over, or this is the type of thing that's going to attract attention. I don't care about that. I feel if I do something good, there's going to be enough discerning people around that maybe someday they'll see it. Public Works of Art project was a tremendous occurrence, actually. One of the greatest boon to the artists that ever happened in this country. The Great Depression occurred around the time President Franklin Delano Roosevelt came to office, right before he came to office, that is. And as far as I was concerned, I couldn't afford to buy materials. And when I saw the article in the newspaper referring to a Public Works of Art project under the Public Buildings Administration, I eventually got on the project, and that renewed my raison d'etre in a sense. I felt life was renewed. I remember years ago when I was in art school, I'd see some of these wealthy ladies with their palettes with 25 or 30 colors. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, maybe 20 colors. But the resultant work was very dead looking. And then I read about Matisse, who used 6 or 7 colors on his palette, and observed the richness of his colors. He was able to push the relationships, the tensions between the 2 or 3 colors to get the most out of it. I only have about 7, 8, or 9 colors on my palette, and however, I try to push the relationships between the colors as far as possible. I'm constantly learning. The painting is not a subject. It's not a house or a person or a dog or a cat. The painting is, I don't know if I make myself clear, the painting is the subject. The idea in a painting is an idea of painting, not an idea of a person. The person, or whatever the material that you're going to paint, if it's a figurative thing, it is, as Cézanne said, the hanger on which you hang your ideas on about painting. I find Baltimore, strangely enough, the city wherein I was born, to give me the solitude and the serenity that enables me to carry out my ideas in painting. I love this city. I think it's a wonderful city to work in. I do not believe in waiting for inspiration. Inspiration will come while you're working. I believe in working every day if possible. I get up fairly early, go down to my studio after breakfast, and I work practically every day with a noontime break, usually. And I feel that it's important to develop an inner discipline wherein your work becomes part of your daily activity. I sometimes work 7 days a week, and I must say that I feel grateful at being involved in something that gives me complete joy, even with its headaches. All my ideas come from actual contact with a visual object, and I make little notes and sketches, sometimes on the back of an envelope, and I develop them. Very seldom do I work while looking at the subject. In other words, in developing the large oil or the small oil, very seldom. I may make watercolors or sketches in color outside, but as I said, the subject is merely the coat hanger to hang the ideas about it. They stir my imagination and allow me to develop a pictorial concept. I'm always looking and seeing what things do to me. Sometimes it arouses ideas. After I get back to my studio, after going for a walk, ideas will come, you know, and may have very little to do with the thing that I saw. The New England scene, particularly along the Cape Cod beaches, the dunes, provided me with large, simple areas, and also the horizontalness of water give me a tremendous sense of serenity. In my work, I've painted a lot of outdoor, a lot of indoor, still life. I even do figures, which I don't exhibit too often, but maybe someday I'll have an exhibition of just figures. However, I find it a very fascinating thing to have an inside-outside picture, in a sense, relating the outside space with the inside space, and have a movement this way within the picture plane. It fascinates me. It maybe has psychological aspects that I am unaware of. I sometimes will challenge myself by doing a subject which a lot of painters push aside, a more or less pretty subject, but the challenge is to make it into something strong and viral, and not be afraid of the sentiment, because transcend the sentiment and make it into something that has a great strength within it. I primarily paint for myself. This is what I want to do. I can call it a form of expression. And I have to be the sole judge of the final result. However, it does not mean fact that I do not want people to see my work, look at it, and like it. The fact that I exhibit my work means that I want to communicate. Gallery plays a very important role for the artist. It's a communicating agent, in a sense, between the artist and the public. It shows his work, it sees his work gets around, and it's a source of income, if he's lucky. And it's a way of relating to the public. It's a way of communicating. And in our culture today, it's necessary. I'm enjoying painting today more than I ever did, because the mechanics of the painting become part of your intuitive faculties, and you're less concerned about them. The expression part of it becomes more and more important and comes out a little easier. But you ask me whether it's a struggle. Well, painting is always in a struggle, but a very happy struggle.